Hi everyone, Belfast Historical Society Vice President Josh Cole here, and today we are talking about Paul Jennings. This is from an Olean Times Herald excerpt in 1997 by Tom Donahue. Salt rising bread expert remembered with fondness. Paul Jennings spent half his life baking the bread some people can't get enough of. Most of America has never heard of it. Too bad for most of America, says a loyal group of consumers in Allegheny County. The salt rising bread pocket of Western New York. Mr. Jennings, who died Saturday at the age of 93, didn't invent the recipe for salt rising bread, but many say he perfected it. And when he wasn't baking his bread, he was a one-man sales and promotion team introducing new customers to and hooking them on the taste only he could make. He made it available all over the area, said Dick Truesdale of Belfast, where Mr. Jennings baked the bread for 20 years. But ask for it in any other place in the country and they look at you like you're crazy. Today's salt rising bread is much of a part of life in Allegheny County as cows and early morning fog. Just ask Carol Ace of Ace's Country Cupboard, a small restaurant on Belfast's Main Street where coffee and salt rising toast start many customers' days. I buy it all the time, said Mrs. Ace. I go through 28 loaves a week and we're just a small drop in the bucket. What's the appeal of salt rising bread? It's made from sour milk dough, and some say there's no better smell than the sweet, sour aroma the bread gives off when you toast it. The bread also has more body to it than most store-bought breads. It's like an old-fashioned homemade bread. Solid, said Mrs. Ace. Dwayne Graham, owner of Angelica Bakery in Angelica and a relative by marriage of the late Mr. Jennings, said the real secret to salt rising bread is what's not in it. First, there's not a lot of salt in the bread. Less salt, in fact, than in most breads. The name comes from the fact that heated crocks of salt were once used to help the dough mature because the salt held heat through the overnight fermentation process. Secondly, to get real salt rising bread, you can't put yeast in it. Mr. Graham said yeast sweetens it and then it just doesn't have that taste. But yeast also helps bread rise, and most who bake the bread today put some yeast in the mix to ensure proper lift and an attractive loaf. Mr. Jennings always did it the old-fashioned way. He learned to bake salt rising bread from the late Charles Arsberger, who ran the bakery in Cuba. Mr. Jennings would later make the bread and other products himself in Belfast Bakery, which he ran for 20 years. Mr. Graham and Mr. Jennings had a magic touch in the kitchen. Anything he baked was beautiful. He said he was like the guy with the green thumb, only his was a bakery thumb, a white thumb. But it was his bread that everyone wanted. And it was his bread baking that he couldn't give up, even after he closed his bakery in 1969, at the age of 66. The following year, Mr. Graham opened his bakery in Angelica, and Mr. Jennings was often there. Paul helped out for a couple of years and did a little baking of his own. He just couldn't leave it alone, Mr. Graham said. Mr. Jennings slowly spread his craft, teaching bakers at shops and supermarkets in Wellsville, Arcade, Cuba, and Alfred to make salt rising bread, all the while keeping his hand in the operation, baking his own bread and always selling. His second wife, Ruby, whom he married 8 years ago, called her husband a natural-born salesman. He had a nice personality and a real nice smile. She said, run into Mr. Jennings and you were certain of having a conversation and you stood a good chance of ending up on his bread list. He had customers all over the country, California, Texas, Arizona, Mrs. Jennings said. As late as 1995, he would start his stock pots in their kitchen at 7 o'clock at night twice a week. then get up at 4 o'clock the next morning and drive the batch to the Giant Supermarket's bakery in Wellsville, where he would bake 140 loaves. Some loaves would go to local outlets, some to mail customers. He's a big reason for the bread's popularity throughout the region, Mr. Graham said, noting his Angelica Bakery now makes 1,300 loaves twice a week. But, he said, no one will ever make it like Paul Jennings. You can have the recipe, but you have to know what to do with it. It's got to have that taste. He wouldn't put out anything but the best, and he sure had the best.